Welcome to Your Biz, Your Rules with Dara Paddy, the podcast here to help you weave the perks and quirks of your personality into your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss another episode. Now let's get to it. Hello, and welcome back to Your Biz, Your Rules. I am here today with the one and only gin guzzling, paint splattering Jo Gifford. Welcome. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Dara. Gin guzzling and paint splattering. I like that. I'm going to own that. Hi, everyone. It's Jo Gifford here, and I'm delighted to be on Her Majesty's podcast. So those of you who don't know me, I am very much like Dara in that I am also a creative thinking and content creation person. You'll find me on jogifford.co. More about what I do later, but I'm thrilled to be here, dude.
I'm really happy to have you. You know that you were high on my hit list of people I wanted to interview for this podcast. So.
Dude, that means the world. And we were just saying, weren't we, that it's been our 4-year Facebook friendship anniversary where we first met and have been in each other's business pockets ever since then.
Yeah, way back when I won a coaching call with Jo and my microphone wasn't working, so I was silent the whole Skype call with her just talking at me and me like typing my responses to stuff. And we were just saying it was a foreshadowing of things to come because I don't often get a word in edgeways.
You don't. I'm going to really try hard today to let you lead.
It's fine. So one thing that I really wanted to talk to you about is creative thinking, because I know that's such a big thing in your business. And I just wanted you to share a bit about that and how you think it makes things better.
Oh my gosh. Okay, awesome. Now, just FYI, stop me at any point. We do have our videos on, so put your hand up if you're like, Gifford, stop. So creative thinking is huge for our lives and our businesses in so many ways. So when we apply creative thinking techniques, and we can delve into what some examples of those might be, we allow our brains to see things in a different perspective, to see things in a whole new way. And why is that useful? Well, if you are operating in a crowded marketplace, you might want to be able to think about some products or services that are different, that stand you apart. You might want to think about how to use language and visuals and your brand to sort of position you in a different way and stands out in a crowded market. Also, creative thinking allows us to think about things with a fresh edge, to be able to approach things, be they, processes or ways of working or straight down to copy or, what content you create. It's everything. If you apply creative thinking to everything in your life, you're going to have a much more fun experience. For one, you're going to see things in a new way, and you're also going to be able to come up with the ideas that keep you leading from your edge. So you're not having the copycat syndrome that is really easily done in any vertical, in any business, where you see what's going on in the sea of sameness, in the pool of what people are doing in your industry and niche, and it's really hard to not be swamped by that and to talk the same language as everyone else, to do what everybody else does. But when you allow yourself to step apart and create some space and think differently, then you can create some magic and help your brand to stand out.
I think one thing that people always fall down on is when they think creativity in business, they think it's all about things like design or writing your content, but it's not. It's about the ideas and how you use them.
Totally. And what I like to share as well is about igniting your brilliance in the business DNA, really. So making creative thinking part of your daily business practice in the tiniest of ways. And it's not about getting a big canvas out and doing some painting. It's not about do you have design skills or not? That's big C creativity. We're talking about little c creativity, which is injecting new experiences, new ways of thinking, new ways of idea generation in the tiniest tweaks. So for example, I try and sort of encourage people to do something new every single day, right? So you're getting a fresh input and a fresh perspective every day. So whether it's taking a slightly different route home and seeing what you see, whether it's ordering a slightly different coffee and enjoying that taste, and or whether it's trying a whole new place for lunch, or whether it's reading a new blog or listening to a different podcast. Because once we stop the same routines that we're in every single day, we allow our amazing brains to have new experiences which can trigger ideas, and it's within those ideas that the magic happens. I stopped before you thought I was going to stop then. She's like, oh my gosh, she's actually stopped talking.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to stop. I thought you were going to continue. And like I said, default setting, there might be a lot of silences while I'm waiting for you to finish talking.
The long-suffering Dara.
So I know you mentioned some of your creative thinking exercises, and I'd love to hear about some of those. So I know there are people out there who they don't necessarily identify themselves as being creative, and if you don't, then it's hard to think, oh, I'll do this because this will be creative.
Okay, and this stuff takes a bit of time. It takes a bit of practice, and you layer on some of the techniques. So as I say, something really simple to start doing as a habit is doing something new every day, and then if you layer onto that, outputting something every day, whether you're creating a really short video or you're sort of journaling or you're creating an image, if you start to output, you have the process of synthesizing information for yourself and for your audience. You're kind of allowing yourself to absorb what's going on out there from your industry, what's going on in the world, what's going on in culture, and you become a synthesizer for your audience and for your clients. And it also helps you understand a lot better as well. So tiny tweaks, something new every day, output something every day, and then you can apply some creative thinking triggers. Now, in the world of creative thinking, there's some world-renowned people. If we think of mind mapping with Tony Buzan, we can think about De Bono and his 6 thinking hats and his many ways of creative thinking. One or two of mine involve Netflix. As you know, this one I know, Dara. And also, as a fellow Gilmore Girls fan, I've taught this on a webinar before, which is how to use Netflix as a creative thinking trigger, which is now sort of makes Netflix a very viable business activity, which is always a good thing. So here's how this one works. Super simple. Think about one of your favorite box sets or series or films or programs. And then if you jot down or kind of spider out things like, the characters or the themes or the music or the location or the storylines, and write down everything that is to do with that series, right? So we should probably jam on this. Gilmore Girls, go.
Oh, we've got the coffee addiction. We've got the fast talking. We've got the asymmetrical mother-daughter relationships.
Oh, nice. Yeah, strong female theme. I think of seasons because the reboot was in the 4 seasons, obviously the seasons of the thing. I think about the parties that what's his name? The one I really fancy. And they go to those like secret parties and they have adventures.
Oh, Logan.
Oh, sorry, Logan. How could
it's hard. There could be multiple people to fancy.
Oh, I mean, there are usually many in my case, to be fair. So yeah, so Logan and the secret, society stuff. So secret society is a bit of a thing there. We could think about family and hierarchy. There's all the girls there. We could think about the experience of not fitting in. Mm-hmm. We could think about, I think about the musicians on the corner that are always there.
Oh, the troubadour, yeah. And there's the whole like riches to rags to riches again story.
Yeah. We can think about the different themes of love and, different partners that occur in there, right? I think about growth. I think about how we see the characters grow and evolve. Right. So that's just a really, really quick, lightning round of how you can look at your favorite film or series, right? So why the heck is that useful for your business, you might ask, right? So if you use those triggers and you start spidering down even more and you think about seasons, you might think about change, you might think about different smells, you might think about growth and birth and decay. You can kind of go further down each one. And what happens then is that you can apply those concepts and those thoughts to whatever it is you're creating, right? So you say, for example, you are creating a new package for your clients, right? And you're like, right, I want to do something that's really different because everyone's doing the same model of, you know, packaging in my industry. I need to think about how to do something slightly different. So if everybody in your industry is doing the same thing, do some creative thinking triggers and apply some of those seemingly random things to how you can structure your programs. You have to kind of go with the free form thinking at first and let it sound as nuts as it's going to sound, and then start to play. This is all about having your own personal playbook, basically. So we could think about applying seasons to a client package, right? So maybe we're working one-on-one with people. Maybe there's 4 different ways of working, and there's 4 different seasons. Maybe you start in one place and you evolve to the last bit. Maybe, feel free to chime in, Dara, because I will keep talking. Maybe there's cycles, maybe there's 4 different experiences. So you could start playing around with things like that, or you could play around with, well, what if there was a pop-up on a corner, you know, like those musicians? What would that look like in my business? How could I do something fun like that that's a constant motif? What's my motif that makes people think of me? How can I include music or something funny in what I do? So these are really quick examples, but if you start playing, you end up having a lot of fun, for one, which is is always a good thing, because that really connects your clients to you. If you are creating stuff and finding points of difference, you are going to stand out from people who are all doing the same things. And it also helps you uncover some new language and some new words, because the more you delve into different parts of your brain, into unexpected themes, unexpected mixtures of stuff, then you come out with different outcomes.
I love that. I love that, because I love box sets. So it's like you're saying, for the good of your business, go binge watch some TV. That's what I'm doing.
We do that quite a lot, don't we? To be fair, we do. You know, we have you have many team Slacks now, I think, but in the one, you know, which we share together, we'll quite often share what we're watching, you know, what's going on, you know. Although actually, for someone your age, you do share my 90s. You know, my 90s sort of box set, you know, poncho. And I always forget that you're so much younger than me, because I think you're born a decade too late, really.
Yeah, well, as I'm sure everybody already knows by now, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my soulmate, and I love it. And I'm in the middle of watching it again at the moment.
Of course.
And I think, like, all of these little Gilmore Girls tips I could totally apply to Buffy and make my business even better, because everything is better with Buffy.
Now, you see, I never got on the Buffy train, I've got to say. I'm really sorry. I know this is a big,
nobody's
bone of
perfect.
contention.
Nobody's perfect.
Oh, exactly. That's fair enough. I'm sorry I let you down. Now, the OC, I could drag on that for a little while, but you can take anything. Maybe it's an album, maybe it's a film, and use those to start triggering different ideas. And what you end up with actually is, it's a whole range of language, of concepts that you can apply. And I've done this with clients before, and we've done a big kind of ideation session, and we've used things as starting points like 80s games. I think we used the game Operation, which sort of took us down a whole other path. We used different films, we've used loads of stuff, and whatever you use will give you a slightly different result. And you can go through that process with different triggers to see what feels good, to see what's coming up for you, because ideation also is about going free form, and is about finding new ideas in places that you wouldn't usually discover them. And your brain, the more you do this, your brain becomes primed to sort of pop out new ideas. And the more you make space for those ideas to come, you won't find yourself waking up in the night time with a huge list of ideas, because you'll have allowed those that space for that on a regular basis. You're allowing your brain to download what you can do, and it makes everything so much easier. You'll find your blog posts are flowing, you'll find your content ideas are thriving, you'll find you're inspired a lot more often. And the World Economic Forum has rated creative thinking as number 3 of the top 10 business skills for 2020. It's gone up from number 7 from 2016. So it's recognized in this changing landscape where everything is like changing so quickly. You can move to market so fast. To be able to be agile and creative is a really huge skill.
Are you covering your mouth?
I'm literally covering my mouth and stop talking.
I think it is something that we all need to think about a bit more. And I think it doesn't have to be difficult and it doesn't have to be complicated. And I think that's something that a lot of people freak out about, especially when they hear us talking about this sort of stuff. It's a bit overwhelming, like, oh my God, all of this thing. So if you watch Grey's Anatomy, for an example, every episode is named after a song. So you could just take that and think, what can I name after songs? So I know we used to play a game where we would pick a power ballad for the day and then take a line from that and weave it into some copy or something else we were doing online just for the fun of it. But you could take that and you could make that part of what you do. You could make that a feature of the content you create, or even just the communication you have. Like your email subject lines, they could now become song titles or song lyrics, and people will click with that. They'll think, oh my God, I love that song, let me open this email.
And it also creates emotion, doesn't it? It really gets that response from people, because it shows you're human, it shows there's a connection. It helps magnetize your clients and your audience to you, and it gets you thinking in a new way. And I really missed that game, actually, the Power Ballad game. We need to bring that back. I think I slacked on it a little bit. I need to bring it back. Okay, it's so much fun.
We'll bring it back in.
And it could be something as simple as, as one simple step, you could right now go and listen to, we both fed the pets, didn't we, before the interview, thinking, oh, yeah, my cat is usually meowing and Dara's dogs are usually barking. In no way are we crazy introverts who work at home with our pets, Dara. I will not have it said. You could take something really simple and go, right, today I'm going to listen to some brand new music, and that's my new thing for the day. Or you could say, right, I'm going to find a new blog by someone I've never read before and I'm going to read a post. And don't put any pressure on yourself. You might find that an idea pings up or not, but you'll find that over time these new experiences layer up so that you have new information to play with as well. Because the other thing is we're constantly bombarded, aren't we, by content, text, updates, blah, blah, blah. There's no space to think differently, which is why everyone ends up sounding the same.
That is such a valid point. And I know that that's something that people worry about a lot when they come to work with both of us, is that they don't want to sound the same. But the thing is, if you don't do anything different, you're not going to be different.
Exactly. And it doesn't even, even if it's not you writing your content or writing your copy or whatever, and perhaps you're hiring one of us, to know your difference is really huge. To be able to connect even with the part of, even with who you are and what makes you different is a massive piece of this process as well. So you can even use creative thinking just with your own with your own set of experience, approach, expertise and personality. What do you call this process, Dara? Because I call it Map and Go, where you really connect with your own stuff. You've got a name for your one, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've got a mini course called The Language Arsenal that helps people come up with sort of the specific words and phrases and little stylistic things that make their stuff sound like them.
Perfect.
And exactly. I always advise people putting together something like that, whether you're creating your own stuff or whether you're outsourcing, because that's how whoever's ghostwriting your stuff can really sound like you. And that, I think that's a big fear for a lot of people, is like, how can I let go of this? Because it's obvious they're not going to sound like me. But actually, if they're good and you've got all of this stuff in place, they are.
They will, yeah. And, I know that you quite often say, if a piece of copy mentions, dark chocolates, some kind of cheesy stadium rock music, and a hot boy, it's probably written by Jo Gifford, or written as you, being Jo Gifford, because actually that's a really good point, because you have done a lot of writing for me, because you're amazing. You're such a talented writer, and you do understand, your clients' tone of voice so well that you find those hooks, don't you? And you do find those things to pull out, and you have to amp up that personality. And there's been many things, which I read now, and I honestly don't know whether I wrote it or you wrote it, much to your chagrin probably. But that's a really good thing. That's how good you are, that you will inhabit that personality of your clients. And whether you are outsourcing it or whether you're doing it yourself, if you turn up to 10 all those things that make you a little bit weird, then we can really connect with you. Or not, because that's equally as important as getting rid of the people who don't want to work with you at all, who think that it's ridiculous that that you go raving in the morning and cover yourself in glitter, or that you are like obsessed with fresh coffee, or that you drink gin, or all those things. If they are if they find your way of working and your personality ridiculous, then you've halved your list, and you can then, sort of really target people who will get you.
I think that scares an awful lot of people, though, the idea of repelling others.
Oh, I love repelling others. It's great. But it makes the right clients flock to you so much easier, doesn't it? If you really are your brand as well, and you are literally amping up those parts of your personality, we both know when someone new works with, us now, I love it when a client might have, found a piece of content, then gone on to like an opt-in or something, has gone through my stuff, has got to know me through all those things. And then if we work together, they know all these things, like, Jo, so how's the kids, and how's the Bengal cat, and what you do? And, and they know all those things. And therefore, we have more creative client calls as well, because they know I'm the kind of person who will be open to new ideas. And you just get your people. It just makes sense. And, if you have a call with someone or you try and work with someone who's not your fit, who's not your tribe, all of that stuff, it just feels so wrong. And, you can't serve them, and they won't get, great results. So the sooner you amp up your personality in your content, in all your pieces of communication with your clients, your emails, your anything, it will help your business so much.
Definitely. And I think one thing people don't think about is, yes, by repelling people, you might possibly lose out on making a sale. But with that sale will come a whole lot of loss of sanity. Like,
oh my gosh.
Honestly, like, working with the wrong people is the most draining, crazy making thing you can do. And I can tell you that from personal experience. I've gone through phases where I've just said yes to everything before, and it does not lead to good things.
Yeah, and in fact, although my kind of filter process is pretty much down pat these days, I did end up having a call with someone the other week that was a completely like new lead, sort of new inquiry call, and we hadn't kind of checked the fit well enough on this, and he just thought I was nuts. He could not understand where I was coming from. He was very, very corporate, and in his world, you don't work with people like me, and that's great. And for some reason we hadn't kind of realized that and stopped the call before that happened. But it was a great reminder that when you work with the right people, it feels awesome, it feels inspiring, it feels great, and they get great results, and you can help them and you can lift them higher, and it really jams. When you're working with the wrong people, it's just hideous. You don't understand each other, you don't understand where you're coming from, and it can make you doubt yourself. It makes clients doubt your work because you're not speaking the same language. It's if you get this stuff right from the off, if you amp up your personality and stand yourself apart and get the right people flocking to you, it's your sales is your sales process is out there working for you all the time with your content, and it just makes the whole experience from start to finish with a new client so much easier.
Amen. So, on a kind of non-related note, I want you to share with us some of your thoughts on making space for creative play, because I know that is a big thing for you and something that I personally struggle with a little bit.
It's a big thing for me, and actually you taught me lots about this as well. I remember, I found some of my old Instagram stuff about doing a 15-minute a day mixed media challenge, and like all of us, it's a constant practice is to make space for my creativity. And I'm a mum of twin girls, so I've got like school stuff, homework stuff, sort of family cooking, like sort of piles of washing and washing up, and normal life stuff, as well as running my own business, as well as having a couple of chronic sort of health problems in there. So it's easy to kind of think, do you know what, I haven't got space to sit and make a painting or to do some drawing or whatever, or to do something new, but whatever it looks like for you, whether it's a big event, a big piece of space, or just a small amount of time, it's so important. So I quite often will sort of go to bed with with a journal and some different color pens and just sort of free form write and journal, or I'll do something like I did yesterday, which is get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to an early morning rave where I'm dressing up, I'm, sort of covering myself in glitter, I'm dancing, I'm enjoying that space, I'm being with like-minded people, I'm starting my day in a really creative, inspired way. Or I might just do some doodling, or I might make sure that I listen to some new music. Like it can be a tinier thing or a big thing, and it is hard. But I have my sort of trusty bullet journal, and mark it off as one of my habits to do every day. So make sure that I journal, make sure that that I output content, make sure that I do something new. And it's a practice. You need to keep working on it to make it a habit. But the payoff is just so huge. Honestly, just those so a couple of hours dancing yesterday. Sort of came back armed with ideas and stories and concepts and all sorts of stuff, just from that new experience. Plus you get to sort of dress up, so it's all good.
You've still got glitter in your eyebrows.
I know. I keep finding glitter everywhere. It's all over the house. Yes, thank you. Glittery eyebrows, especially for you this morning, Dara. I've got glitter in all sorts of places, let me tell you. It's
I appreciate that.
That's fine. TMI. But yeah, it's really important just to make a little bit of space, even if it feels really counterintuitive. But you can look at how you are spending your time. And if you are kind of slumped in front of I'm a celebrity and whatever, maybe just take 10 minutes away from that and do something new. That's all it takes. So start there. Start really, really small. Start with something that helps you feel good. And this is not like another thing to add to your list. It's something that enriches you in so many ways, not just for your business.
Well, and if you can't tear yourself away from the TV, there's always the ad breaks.
I mean, exactly. Good call. If you are absolutely an addict for your TV, you've got those 3-minute ad breaks. Go and do something. Go and and do some mark making. Go and do some chalk drawing outside. Read a new article somewhere. Use those 3 minutes. I like that, Dara. That's good. Ad break creativity.
I love it. Oh, sounds like a thing. Sounds like a thing. Sounds like a new movement in the works.
There you go. Look what you did.
Yeah, I think this is something that's become a lot more of a focus for me recently, because I keep feeling myself sort of teetering towards burnout, and I really want to get ahead of that before it happens. So for 2018, instead of having like a main big business focus, my main focus is more of like a life thing, because I'm not even delusional enough to think that I'm going to have the perfect work-life balance. I just want a little bit more balance, a little bit more space where I can just be myself and not be thinking, I need to speak to this client, I need to do this, I need to send this email, I need to, oh my God, I need to launch that thing, oh my God.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, when your Google Calendar is like full of all the things and your head's full of all the things. And that's amazing that you've stopped that in its tracks as well, dude, because it can be so counterintuitive kind of to step away when you are so busy and you have a lot going on and you run your own business, and we often have to wear all the hats, don't we? So it's really hard to step away. And I know that when we can do that, when we sort of go with the ebb and flow, we're like, right, I'm starting to feel really jittery, I'm starting to feel really stressed. If you can take even an hour and go and do something else, go and have a bike ride, go and sit like in a cafe without your computer, go and do something different. Actually, when you get into your flow, and you find that space of flow and you're feeling more chilled, you can get things done so much faster as well. Like, all those tasks feel so insurmountable, but then when you allow yourself to get into a more creative and focused space, in fact, I think there's a study which I want to quote who it's by, which I forget right now, but creative flow state increases productivity by 500%. So if you can train yourself to get into a creative state of flow, not only will you have better ideas, but you'll get things done 5 times as fast. So it's like, why would you not do that? You've got to increase your productivity hugely. You're going to feel better, and you're able to get more stuff done when you're not in that awful hustle mode.
One thing that I've noticed is that bad habits are insanely easy to get into, and good habits are hard as hell.
What's your worst habit, Dara?
Well, my worst habit is to do with work. So working and saying yes to things and working really late. And what I've noticed is if I do it for more than one day, then it's like it's there and it's ingrained, and I start doing it every day. And a while back, before I even realised what had happened, I went for 3 months without having a weekend off.
Dude.
And it's like, it wasn't a conscious decision. It just sort of, it happened once, and then it was just, that's what the reality was. It just stayed that way.
And again, that's a really good example of not taking space to reflect, because that, you know, although we're talking about creativity as idea generation, sometimes you already have all the ideas. Sometimes you just need space. And from that space comes clarity. So if you just need to process all that stuff that's in your head in a way that feels good, and, you know, doing that kind of offline for me really works. You know, I have to have everything color coded online, obviously, in all the things, in the Trello, in the Evernote, in the Google Drive, in the Google Calendar, all the things. But I also need to not be at the screen, and I need to have my bullet journal or my notebook just to be able to download in a way that's free form, that's organic, that is allowing my brain to trust that information is stored somewhere and to process what's needed. Because when we're proactive and not reactive, it becomes so much easier. And just taking that time to to reflect, all that time you hadn't even realized you didn't really have a weekend off, because you were just in that mode, weren't you? You're just like, I'm going to say yes to things. Oh God, my list is getting bigger. But if we take time to reflect on what's working, on what's not working, on what you want, on how you can work better. And again, creative thinking can be used there as well. How can I get creative with my week so that I am enjoying what I'm doing, so I'm redesigning my calendar to work to my strengths, so that I am showing up in a way that I love my business and I can really serve my clients and can really live my life in the way that I want to. And by not making space to actually reflect, we end up with something that's not by design, that's just by default. And that's when unhappiness and burnout comes, because you feel as if everyone wants a piece of you and you haven't carved any space. But you can take back control, and it starts with just finding a little bit of space.
I think the no screen time or reduced screen time is a really important point. I was listening to this old episode of the Being Boss podcast a few weeks ago, and one of the ladies was saying that she'd been looking for different ways that she could stay away from her screen. So she was thinking of all of these tasks that she could do, like planning her week, for example, or drafting some emails, or writing the first draft of a blog post, and she could do all of those things away from her screen. And that made me think, like, what can I do that is away from my screen? So I've done that. Because I tend to write my first drafts by hand anyway, but previously what I would do is I'd still sit here in front of my computer screen, but with my notebook there also. So now I just take it into another room, leave my phone in here,
perfect,
room, write that, and then come back to type it up later.
Yeah, I've started doing that again recently, and there was a blog post I wrote recently on Medium, which was a bit of a igniter. It kind of flew around the interwebs, but that was written longhand first, because I needed just to find the space to download what was in my head. And if you're sat by your screen, all the alerts are popping up for all the things, then you can't find that space. And another thing, of course, is to sort of dictate things, is to just sort of dictate your thoughts or your posts, or to download in a way although that's technically screen time. If you're by your phone, you can be somewhere else, you can be on a walk or something. I've kind of produced a lot of kind of course material or blog posts and stuff just by finding a new way to do it. I think one of my best ones was when I drove to Tesco's one day, really, really, really classy, and dictated 3 blog posts on the way, had a coffee and uploaded them to Rev, and then by the time I'd come back home, they were all transcribed and ready to be kind of formed up into blog posts. It was like 3 blogs done in like 10 minutes or something. And obviously you can kind of shape them and do different things, but when you're out and about as well, you get that different perspective. So you might want to consider taking finding a new environment to do things as well is really important, isn't it? Just getting that new perspective by working in a different cafe, by going somewhere else, by taking a new route home.
So on the flip side of all of this creative thinking stuff, what about when you have all the ideas and you feel like you've got so many ideas but not enough time to deal with them all?
Okay, well, that's where you need to get again creative with using tech to do some heavy lifting for you. So I like to use tech to do a lot of the work, where possible. And also it's where you need to get super selective and to find that flow state and focus on one thing. So we've generated loads of ideas, be they for concepts, for content, for world domination, for whatever it is, for gin types, for all that stuff. And then we're like, right, now I've got all the things. what do I do? And this is where a lot of people stop and go, and now I'm overwhelmed. No, now you need to make a plan. Now you need to design a plan to get this thing done. So small chunks is always a really good way to work. You need to divide your time up, focus for short sprints at a time. Like I love using Pomodoro timer. I love using toggle to kind of just jump on and do things. You just need to stay focused and break something down into really small steps so that you can get it done. And I can be my own worst enemy on this stuff. If I see like a big project, sometimes it's like, okay, that feels overwhelming, which is why I have to have like a production manager in the business, because she can break that stuff down, for myself and for clients. And that's another good point as well. Surround yourself by people whose skills are different to yours. So if you find yourself becoming overwhelmed with things as your business grows, find someone whose skills are really, really good at scheduling, at getting things done, at seeing through the overwhelm. And that goes for, for sort of partners as well. My partner, Miles, is brilliant. He's very much like that, whereas I'll see things as like, all the things here, he'll say, well, no, it's this, and this, and we'll do them in this order. It's linear, and now it's done. So you need to find your way of breaking through that shiny object overwhelm. Choose one thing to work on, break it down, find a plan, and use tech to plan things out. So you could maybe look at Trello, you could look at Evernote, you could look at all sorts of ways to store your ideas for later, because it might be that you want to come back to some of those amazing things, but just fucking do it. JFDI. Am I allowed to swear on your podcast?
I mean, it's too late now, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, that's a really good point, in that you might have all of these ideas, but that doesn't mean they're all ideas you have to deal with right now. Because I don't want to sound too woo, but there's no deadline to your destiny. If you're meant to do something, you can do it when you do it.
I think Oprah might call you for that one, dude. That was good. That was a good mic drop. That was like, there is a deadline to your destiny. And but then also, if we look at sort of Liz Gilbert and her work in Big Magic, and she talks about, those big ideas, well, some of them will come to you and you can choose to run with them, and they end up with someone else sometimes. And, sometimes that happens, and but there are you will have a million ideas, and choosing the one that feels great for you to move forward with right now is what you need to do. Just make some movement right now. If overwhelm, if procrastination, if all of that stuff is blocking you from from taking action, then you aren't serving yourself, you aren't serving your business, and you aren't serving your clients.
It's so funny that you just mentioned Elizabeth Gilbert, because I was just thinking of that exact same thing.
The Big Magic.
Yeah, so I went to the book tour when she came to London, when she was promoting Big Magic, and I remember this one thing that she said, which was, not every idea is meant for you. And that really clicked for me, because something I've noticed a lot with people online is that they'll have an idea, but then if they see somebody else doing something that's the same or similar, they either get really angry or they just throw in the towel.
No one does it like you. And I think, although we are like, we're like a really good example, like we are really similar in many things, but we are still two separate entities of Jo and Dara, and we will have different like approaches.
I hate gym. I really
exactly, that is the main difference, and I don't know Buffy, so if that that will get you like the main differences. But we will have different ways of working. People will have different experiences of working with us, and we collaborate and we do stuff together, and we're kind of in each other's worlds. And I tend to drive Dara mad most of the time. That's my main job. We're working with Dara. But if you think, oh my god, well, someone else is doing that, yes, they're doing it, but they aren't doing it your way. The way that Dara presents content creation and creative thinking is different to the way that I do it. And we do sometimes have that sort of big idea moment where we're like, oh my god, you've just done one of those and I've done one of those. But it's still really different. And people love or hate us for the same, for those different things. And I'm thinking of an example as well where so one of my creative thinking clients, actually, we did a sort of brainstorming session, and I sent her on some of those daily kind of ideation adventures, and her partner took a different route home, which led to all these different discussions, which led to them quitting their house. I think they gave up their lease, buying an RV, and they're now traveling around Europe and America, coaching their clients in flow state, right? This isn't the first person to have that big idea. A year before, another friend of mine was going to do that exact same thing, was going to literally sort of quit everything, have an RV and tour around, doing flow. These two people didn't know didn't know each other. I was their only connection, and I saw this idea go from one person to the other, and they ran with it, and it was great to see that just kind of jump from over there to over there. They've taken it, and the first person is now doing something completely different and loving that, and they don't know that kind of ideas run with someone else, and it's all good. There's no bad outcome of working with different ideas, of working with different stuff, and you become very, very stale very quickly in your life and in your business unless you're trying out new things and questioning stuff. Bring in some questions and just be curious. It's a good trait.
There you go. Be curious, everybody.
Be curious, and there's no deadline to your destiny. That's a good one.
I feel like that is a very tweetable quote right there.
That's a tweetable right there. It totally is. The glitter eyebrow approves.
Well, in that case.
I mean, that's done.
So I know you've been playing around with doing something a little bit different recently with your new content agency service. So Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, content agency stuff. So I have for a long time really been working with people to teach them how to create content, to sort of mentor them really of how to use creative thinking in content creation. And I've kind of been ignoring this big thing that actually a lot of people wanted it done for them in a way that was that made it easy for them to get on with their business. And I said yes to one lovely client who's a friend. I said, okay, I'll try this for you. And turns out I loved it. Turns out they loved it. And in fact, very, very quickly, the floodgates opened to lots of clients now working with us. And I've onboarded my amazing team, of which you are, of course, one, always in my world as an amazing team member, of which I'm really grateful. So we currently do a range of things from content, consultation to content repurposing to the full gamut of content creation and repurposing. So some clients come to us with a podcast, and then we do the show notes, we do a blog post from it, we write the newsletter, we write the social media things, we create visuals, we upcycle to videos. Some people come to us with a blog post that they've pretty much finished, but they're not quite sure about it, and we'll kind of tidy it all up and kind of amp it up and do social media stuff and do videos. So it depends what people want. And what I'm seeing is that people feel a lot freer if they're not comfortable doing content creation, or they want to do a piece of it and then hand off, they can carry on in their zone of genius. And it's lovely being creative and finding different ways to work for different people depending on their needs. So it's really exciting. It's nice to watch people fly and to be able to hand over the pieces that they don't want to do to us. And I have my brilliant team here kind of helping me manage. And it's really exciting. So done for your content.
That's one of my favorite things about what we do is the variety.
Isn't it? We get and also you get to learn about so many different businesses, don't you? So many different characters, and we have the pleasure and the honor of seeing behind the scenes of so much of that. And for some of my clients, like I'm a content director for, so I'll be there for with them on the strategy side for so much of it, and then we'll do the done for you piece, or for some people it's a much smaller chunk. But it's a real honor to be able to help people really stand in their own power and know who they are, and to get that message out. And then they see huge returns on that as well, because there's the tangible of the kind of the clicks, the likes, the sign-ups and the sales, of course. And there's also the the intangible, the confidence that comes from really knowing how to say your message in a way that feels good to you, or knowing that it's out there working for you and you aren't slaving over that blog post in a cold sweat, and procrastinating. It just, some people just want to hand it off, and that's brilliant. That's why we're here. And they're all lovely, lovely peeps.
Well, it sounds like you found your sweet spot of working for clients, but not too much.
Dara, how long have you known me, and Even the dogs agree, honestly. We've tried, done so many iterations of working, and so now I have a range of products released. So I have some kind of online on-demand evergreen training. I have more bespoke group work, and I have the consultancy that done for you watching Dara hush out her dogs. That one's really not taking over an answer. Was it the door?
Yeah, the postman came and said the dogs were going mad.
I swear, it's like as soon as you jump on a call or podcast interview, it's like all the postmen, all the visitors, all the phone calls just like to rock up. Honestly, yeah. What's the book? Dara has a book arrived.
So it is oversubscribed.
Oh, that's good.
I have no memory of ordering this.
Drunk ordering, dude. Must be.
Well, I'm not like you.
That's true. Maybe it's a gift from someone.
Maybe.
I do feel like your listeners are getting a very bad view of me, Dara. I feel like they've got some gin lush.
I mean, it's not a far trip, is it?
That's a really good book, FYI, peeps.
Well, I will read it. So one question that I'm asking everybody as I wrap up these interviews, what is your biggest guilty pleasure? I know we've touched on some of this. And how do you weave it into your work?
Biggest guilty pleasure? There's quite a few. Oh my God. One of them would be a good old, box set and Netflix. But I weave that into my work by using those as creative thinking triggers. Another one, is the early morning dance parties, and I weave that into my work by making it part of my day, by using it as part of my flow process. Probably some I can't really mention publicly, but they're the two that I'm willing to share.
Filth. And on that note,
on that cliff edge,
please tell us where we can find you online.
You can find me on jogifford.co. You can find me on Facebook. My page is Jo Gifford. You can find me on Instagram @DexDiva and Twitter @DexDiva. Thank you, Dara, for having me on your wonderful podcast. It's been a real pleasure.
And thank you for being here. I know that everyone will have gleaned some very inspiring insights from this episode. I know I have. I know
I'm slightly worried as well. I might be a little bit disturbed.
I know a lot of this stuff is stuff that we've talked about before, but it's always nice to have that refresher and just to get re-inspired a little bit and talk about this stuff. So thank you.
Pleasure, dude. You're awesome.
Thank you for listening to Your Biz, Your Rules. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you could leave me an honest review on iTunes. As a little thank you, the first 150 people to leave me feedback will get access to Conquer Your Content Plan, my exclusive workbook designed to help you dream up, draft, and leverage strategic standout content in next to no time. See you next week.